Hey guys, this is Julian of Julian Gray Media. Today's video is a continuation of my Inside the Project series where I break down some of my most popular music. I kind of want to make a Inside the Project video for every single song I release this year. Maybe not every single one, but the ones that I enjoyed writing the most and the ones that you guys suggest that I should do Inside the Project videos for. So if you guys want to see the Inside the Project look at any of my songs, make sure to let me know down in the comments below, and I'll do a video like this for any of my old catalog that you guys want to see the project for. So without any further ado, today we are diving into Illusions, my latest release with Elliptical Sun Melodies. This is kind of a trance techno record, somewhere in between there. A lot of minimal techno ideas, but a lot of trancey arpeggio styles. So let's hop into the project, and I'll give you a basic rundown of how the track was made and some of the core elements of the song. Let's do it. So here we are in Ableton Live 10. This is the project file for Illusions, originally titled Algid Auroras and Illusions of the Mind, and then Illusions of the Mind, and then Illusions. I went through some changes. This is an older song of mine. I think I started this maybe back in 2015. A lot of cool melodic ideas that got recycled. It was originally a trance tune that I turned into techno. If you guys want to see the original project for this, maybe I'll do a video kind of on the history of this song. If you guys haven't heard the song yet or seen the video for it, make sure to click on the upper right hand corner right now. There's going to be a link up there where you can see the video, whichever video I decide to put right there for this song. There's a couple of them. It got featured on Ali and Fila's Future Sound of Egypt, which was pretty cool. And there's some other radio spots for this track as well. But without any further ado in talking about it, let's hop right in and give some of the elements a listen here. So if you heard the song, I don't want to really play the entire song for you, but we'll start breaking it down. We have separate different sections here. The section that says break one or build, this is where the actual song starts and begins. It actually might be right here. This right here, I believe, is where the song actually begins. There's an extended version with a second drop, which is this right here, and then this intro here. The original cut is this here, this build, this drop, this break, and then into the piano directly. So it bypasses this entire chunk right here. But this is the extended version. The second drop is pretty similar to the first drop. But let's dive right in. I guess we'll go over the extended version because I have it open here, and the original is just the same thing with a little fewer less elements. So let's give this thing a play from the beginning. So already you can hear there's a few elements going on here. We have the kick drum, which is kick 2. This is just a basic kick synth. It's pretty much the default in kick 2 with some minor adjustments to make the transient shorter. I shortened up that amplitude envelope, and the pitch is into the key of the song, which is cool. That is our kick. We have very minute processing on this. It's high passed for the beginning here, and then as you hear in the real song, the real bass is really introduced in the actual drop itself. As you can see, it's only completely open right there. This is where the high pass is. You can hear kick is very clicky there in the build section where it doesn't have the bass to carry it, and then when it hits the drop, you hear all of the bass come through. You hear that sub motion there. Cool. Back to the intro. We have, let's see, we have some noise. Let's see what we did here. Give this a play. So it seems we have two different instances of Serum doing different noises. This one is Aircan 4, and this one is, let's see, ARP White, which is the standard white noise I like to use. And I believe this is the frequency cutoff of the actual filter itself. Let's give a look and just see if that is indeed what it is. I believe it is. Let's see. No, that is actually the filter cutoff for this auto filter here. So I didn't actually use the Serum filter. I did a high pass with this EQ here, basically just rolling off the bottom end and giving a little bit of a high boost. That's cool. Gives the noise more energy, I feel, because the low end weighs it down. It's sidechained to the kick, and there's an auto pan. Basically basic stuff for a noise, and that's that. We have an impact clap, which is a Leviathan sample. Let's give this a listen. that absolutely drowned in delay and a sidechain. Very cool in the mix. The hi-hats are comprised of 2 layers here. We have this one, very shortened, short transient closed hat. I guess it's an open hat, more like it. And then we have this one here, which is a very, very short, clicky, short transient closed hat that is basically going incredibly fast. As you can see right here, the velocity is kind of ramping up and down to make it shuffle a little bit. Cool, that is our hi-hats. Then we have background perk. I believe that's what it is, background percussion. Let's give this a solo and give this a listen. As you can see, we only have a little clip of audio here, which is this. But we are modulating the transpose of this actual note here. Let's see if we can find it. I might have actually done it in the sampler window. Yes, I did it here. If we scroll on down, we can see that the motion of the transposition is moving. So that the percussion is going up and down according to this envelope. And while it's doing that, we have a phaser and an auto pan kind of throwing it around in the stereo image a little bit there. We have a Valhalla room adding some reverb, like that. And we're just doing this interesting EQ here. I don't know why I did that. It's an older EQ of mine. Cut out 2K, pure C frequency there. And then we have a high and low pass there. Cool. Unsolo that, and you kind of get the gist of the intro. There's this really cool percussive sound here that I use throughout the drop as well. It's this guy. Oops. Which is just a little small percussive hit that I transposed way up and then added a ton of delay and reverb on. Let's give you a quick peek at what's going on in the reverb there. You can take a look. And then we have a low pass so that it's not piercing our ears, and we want it to be set back in the mix. And to do that, you can remove the high end of a sound, and that will set it back in the mix subconsciously. So we have this arpeggio here, which is the main lead of the song. Let's give this a play. Sound design for this, I believe, was a preset I tweaked. It looks like 2 sine waves. One is FMing from the other. The actual envelope itself is very, very short. We have no attack time, so it's a direct, like, on the mallet on the bar or whatever hit, and then the envelope for the volume is doing that as well. Envelope 1 is default for amplitude and serum. We have a little bit of delay and reverb. Seems like I'm automating the reverb time a little bit here. Right there. Let's see. Serum, timbre, filter cutoff. I don't know. Maybe I didn't actually use it. Maybe I did in this one. This is a copy of the same thing. I just wanted to have 2 different versions so I can have one that's a little bit more aggressive in the drops and one that's a little bit softer in the breakdown. So there's that, and then let's give this a play in the mix. You can hear how that delay kind of sets it into the stereo mix a little bit more. We have a faller. Let's give this a listen. Let's take a look at this sound design here. So we have a noise, and we have 2 softer wavetables, and then we have a LFO controlling the cutoff of that, never really brightening up to the top. It's only going about halfway to keep that in the distance kind of muddy sound, which basically sets it into the background more. We have pan automation here and detune automation as well to add some kind of difference to the sound as it moves along. And that all does that as this white noise is opening. There's a second layer here. Very similar sound. I think it's without the noise, or maybe a different noise. Yeah, very similar. Cool, and that is our faller, and then we have a riser that goes and transitions for us into the next section. So I have a macro right here, controlling the chorus pitch of each oscillator here. This would actually be more intelligent to do with a pitch bend automation, but at the time, I don't know why I did it, but I did it with a macro. So a few years ago, kind of changed my writing style since then. We have this cling here. Let's give this a listen. Kind of a ambient tone. I think I got this from Contact's Kinetic Metal pack, and then resampled it into 2 little hits here. Basically just 2 percussive hits with a lot of reverb and a high pass. And Kinetic Metal, if you don't know, already has a lot of stereo depth in it. So I didn't really have to pan it very much because the sound inherently had it. Here is the vocals. These are kind of transition. That is my vocal, and I sing like a solid note. Let me see. I think V1 is the version. Nope, definitely not. I think it might be V2. Let's see. One of these 3 is my normal voice. I want to say it's V3. And then I kind of just transpose the clip up 7 semitones and then 12, which is a full octave and a 5th, so that I can create this really nice 5th chord here. And I do that, and I use it throughout the song in very, very small pieces. Let's give this a play in the mix. So then we're getting into the next part of the song. I think we covered pretty much everything for this section. The block, the noise, the impact, the rise and fall, and the ARP. The ARP here is very similar to the first ARP. If we look at the sound design, I'll give you a brief look at it. It's just 2 sine waves, and then we have a delay and reverb on it to kind of, set it into the mix a little bit more. Then we have Ableton's stock ping pong, which I really like because it's a very exaggerated ping pong delay between the 2 ears in the stereo field. And then the melody here, I actually developed from this. So this is the melody you hear in kind of the build-up section and the kind of B section to the drop. This was the original melody of the song. It was just that ARP. But I took that and then I removed a lot of notes and kind of shifted some of them around, and then I got this really wonky arpeggiated lead section that a lot of people really enjoy. They're like, how did you write that? And it's actually just the arpeggio that I wrote here. It's just a standard arpeggio. I believe that I did that with Cthulhu about a year ago. And then I just pulled the notes around and rearranged them to a way that sounded pretty interesting. I might have added a few notes extra here and there, but this is pretty much how it sounds. I think what really sets it off here is this ping pong delay, which really puts it into the stereo image a little bit more. If we go into the sound itself, it seems like I am automating the drive of the filter just to give it more energy there. And other than that, I mean, it's a pretty simple sound. It's just 2 sine waves. One is FM'd off the other, and we have some reverb and delay on it. We introduce this bass here, which is a pad basically. If we solo this out, it's very obvious what it is. It's just a sine wave and a saw wave and a sine wave. One is doing -3, which is the sine wave, which is more kind of a softer tone, which kind of works better in those lower octaves. And then we have this aggressive sawtooth wave at -2 octave, which is setting the kind of mid-tone of the bass, which is really important that a lot of people don't use. There's this like one region of frequencies, I think between, let's see where we are here. C A2, so A2 minus 2 is A0. So I'd say between A0 or C0 and C1 is a really energetic region of bass that a lot of people don't kind of right in. It's like the core part of the bass, in my opinion, and that's where a lot of the energy in my tracks come from. Then I have this cutoff filter right here. This doesn't move at all. It just cuts the top off of the bass to kind of set it into this like kind of almost Reese sound because of the unison detune here. It's a very, very not detuned Reese, basically. We have this high end of that same bass, which is even more Reese-y. We have 7 unison here, a little bit more stereo detune between those voices, and we have that same low pass filter on there as well. As you can see, it starts off with no bass, and then we introduce the bass on this weird beat right here. I think this is the 3rd beat of the phrase. Let's see. Yeah. Kind of creates that futuristic, not futuristic, but surreal kind of sound. This is kind of meant to confuse your mind, because the original song was called Illusions of the Mind, and I just renamed it Illusions for sake of like ease of remembering the title. Yeah, that's that, and it kind of creates this surreal sense to the song. I have this piano right here. It's just a reversed piano. I played a single note, then reversed it, then added some reverb and stuff like that. There you go, and that's our piano. We reuse this piano later on at the end of the song. But that's pretty much the bulk of this intro bit right here. We have a choir section going. This was frozen from a Sound Iron choir patch I use in Contact. I forget what it's called. Let me see if I can find it. Essentially, it's just a choir sound that I played in MIDI and then froze to audio, just for the editability of audio and the ability to add fades and things like that. So I have a little bit of pan on there, and then I have a Haas effect going, and that's our choir. It's kind of just a pedaled note. It's just the same note over the entire duration of the section. And that kind of brings us to the end of the build-up here. Except for this cool little counter lead, which is this kind of bit crush sound. This is a remnant of a lot of the music I was writing about a year ago with a lot of bit crusher. Saw wave and a sine wave, basically a ton of unison on those. And as I said, the bit crusher downsample here with a little bit of multi-band, kind of an OTT style compression to add some distortion to the sound. Let's just see how that sounds without it and with it. Yeah, it brings out the top and the mids there. Then we have our amplitude envelope here. It's kind of just a similar style of pluck amplitude envelope. It's just a little bit held out in the beginning there. And then we have this right here, which is what creates our cutoff filter automation. Ding, 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 ding. And that's what really makes it sound plucky, like kind of harpy. Then we have the sound and then reversed into itself. To do that, I just removed the delay and then added a lot of reverb to a single tone, played the tone, and then reversed it into itself. No big deal. Then we have this really cool, let's see if we can find it, bass blang. That's this sound here. That hits on the 1 on, I think, every 4 beats. We have a saw wave and a BSOD square wavetable here with a ton of unison detune. That's what's creating that kind of distorted sound. We have a lot of reverb on that as well, so it rings out. Very, very cool techno-esque sound. Then we have this top synth layer right here, which is another bass layer. And that kind of leads into that distorted bass right there. So let's give this a solo. Similar kind of deal, a ton of unison and a ton of unison detune. And then we have the saw wave here, and then whatever this wave shape is. Then we have a envelope controlling the cutoff there. Very, very short attack, just so it kind of vrong, 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 vrong instead of dung, 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 dung. Kind of cool, almost Zonderling-esque if you've heard that one song he did, Tunnel Vision. And then I have a lot of reverb on that as well to set it into the background a little bit. So if we play this, drops into this like melodic techno section. Then we have this resonant note, which is essentially just this really cool sound in Serum. It's a sine wave that I'm automating the size of the reverb, which creates this really cool distorted like pitch bendy effect, which is kind of a side effect of a glitch with Serum, but I like it. Let's see, did I? No, I don't. I just have a filter on it, I believe. That's doing an auto pan. It kind of sounds like the wind. That adds a lot to the background of the song. Back into that noise. You can hear that noise revisited again. We have those hi-hats come in from the intro. And then back into this breakdown here, we have that original ARP I was referring to earlier. That was the original lead of the song. And I kind of just went from this ARP in the drop and then faded it into there by starting the phrase of this new melody with the same as the continuous phrasing, or I guess melodic arrangement of the drop section there. So the melody of the first, I guess, 2 bars is the exact same as this section here. So it kind of seamlessly transitions. Let's give this a listen. That's a beautiful trancy ARP, and then we have a let's see, string layer under that with this new bass melody here. It's kind of self-explanatory, just following the same core root note as the arpeggio there. And then we have this string section here, which is contact again. I want to say it's session strings. I just did some automation modulation to kind of modulate the differences between the velocity of these notes to make it sound a little bit more natural, and the start and end times of the notes. As you can see, they aren't dead on, which creates a humanization feel. Not the most real sounding strings, but they do for the context of this song. So that's that. So the build is near identical to the first drop, just a slight melodic difference. We do the same trick here. Only that time we drop it in with the clap and the hi-hat here. If we take a look at the clap, it's very, very simple, very, very short, clappy snare sound. And I'm just doing some work here, cutting some of the mid-high out and then cutting the bottom all the way out. Did the Haas effect again to separate the clap and the stereo image, and then we have a compressor to kind of flatten out the sound a little bit and destroy the dynamics of the sound, so we have a very punchy clap. That's pretty cool. So that's our second drop, and then we go into this kind of B section to the drop, which reintroduces the melody, and then we reintroduce some of the ambient effects that we had in the beginning of the song. You can hear those piano fades coming in. Have this piano section, which I wrote originally back in like 2015, and it worked really, really well with this song, so we kind of added it to the song. we have a counter melody doing a similar rhythmic pattern to that main melody, but it's doing a harmony of that melody. This is originally supposed to be played both on piano, but then I separated it into its own sound, which is kind of like a brassy tone. Let's give this one quick look, and then we'll play it to the end, and I think that calls this wraps. So this is a, whatever wave shape that is, this is a sine wave. And basically it's just a pluck sound with a little bit of attack time, again similar to that Zonderling sound, and that's what's creating this effect. We have this reverb as well to set it into the mix. Reintroduces these strings here. That was a modal change right there, switched from the relative minor to the relative major to add this sense of hope at the end. I really like to do that, I don't know why. Back to minor, and then we end the song on the same intro bit that is the intro of the original mix. So that is Illusions for the most part. There's a lot of cool things going on in this track, but it is one of the simpler tracks that I've done. We've capped out at about 46 channels, give or take with the sends. We're at about 50 channels. Not the most complicated song I've ever done, but I think it's very cool and it does the job well. So let me know what you think of Illusions. If you enjoyed this project review video or inside the project video, make sure to give the video a like. If you didn't, give it a dislike and let me know why in the comments below. If there's any songs of my discography you want me to do this for, let me know down there as well, and we'll see about doing an inside the project video on that. If you have any specific questions about this video or in general, make sure to let me know down there as well, and we might choose your idea for a future video on the channel. I am Julian of Julian Gray Media. I make a video every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday when I'm not completely slammed, and make sure to subscribe for that so you can see future videos. And I guess I will talk to you in the next one. Bye-bye.